Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters and viewers of IQRA TV. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk. I come to you today in your homes in some very difficult and challenging times. Every one of us on this planet is currently really worried about and going through this enormously challenging illness that is spreading across the world, which is known as, officially it's known as Covid-19, but most people know it as coronavirus. This has been a disease that has been emanating from the Far East and is transported across the whole of the globe, and many people around the world have died as a consequence of this illness, this virus that is going around. In Britain today, in the last 24 hours, we have had the highest number of deaths recorded in the last 24 hours. Over 560 people have died, and total people who died in this country is about 2,300. So this is an illness that we spoke about 2 weeks ago, and as to how it's going to affect us, how we need to protect ourselves, and what we need to do as a Muslim community to make sure that we, like everybody else, are following the government guidelines. So I'm going to talk about that today in a little bit more detail, but I'm also going to talk about what Muslim communities across the whole of the country are doing to help those who are less vulnerable, those who are living on their own, those who have no family or friends, those who have nobody to look after them. As a Muslim Ummah, we have a responsibility to make sure that we look after all of our neighbors, regardless of their color, their faith, etc. And so I'm going to talk about what other communities are doing and what you should be doing and how you should be protecting yourself. I think until last week, a lot of the people in the Muslim community did not accept the severity of this virus and the impact of this virus. I have heard in the last few days in particular, many Muslim brothers and sisters have passed away across the country as a consequence of contracting this disease. And as a consequence of that, their families have had to endure burials and burying their loved ones without the majority of their members being able to do so. At the maximum, 10 people are allowed to go there. There was rumors at one stage that they were even talking about having cremations. By the grace of Allah and with the efforts of people like Naz Shah, the MP from Bradford, and others, that proposal has now been put to one side, and the government has agreed that that's not going to happen. So in our discussion today, it's very important that every one of us contribute in any way you can. So I'm urging you, if you want to contribute today and talk about this illness, this virus that is going around our country. And remember this, we had a doctor a couple of weeks ago who said that the majority of people who are susceptible to this illness are from the Asian subcontinent because of underlying health conditions within our community. There's a prevalence of diabetes, there's a prevalence of heart disease, and there's a prevalence of asthma within our community as well. So we are much more susceptible, and therefore we need to be much more engaged in making sure that we socially isolate and distance ourselves. As you will notice today, Mufti Yusuf is going to be my guest. He's sat with me, and we've made sure that we have socially distanced ourselves. Before I came into the studio, I had a mask on, and I've not been coming here at all, but I've only come in specifically to this program. Mufti Sahib, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you? Are you keeping yourself well and safe?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am, alhamdulillah, although it's been a uphill battle with health and many members in the family struggling.
Yes, you were saying that there were some members of your family who were showing the symptoms.
Yes, and sadly, not just the family, many in the community around me. And such is the state of the Ummah, not just the Ummah, but the humanity, mankind. Covid-19 or coronavirus as we know it, it's brought not just the country but the world to a standstill, where the airwaves were full of aeroplanes and people hustle, bustle, whether it's the economy, whether it's the stock exchange, or whether it's the supermarkets and everything else. So subhanallah, with a little bit, a small virus, a tiny thing, something we can't see, Allah has brought the world to a standstill, and we are here. First and foremost, let me start by what we should be doing in terms of as Muslims, if that's okay, Iqbal.
Yeah, please. We also got some other guests waiting,
yes.
but I'll let you go first.
I mean, as you know, we as believers, we as Muslims, first and foremost, everything we attribute and everything we do is for Allah Rabbul Izzah and for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This illness in itself is a reminder for us all to make ruju, meaning to turn towards Allah even more. So first thing we should do is turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remember Him and attribute everything to Him, good and bad. And this is a test, a trial, a tribulation for humanity, for mankind, for us as Muslims, no less. So we should try and re-engage, reconnect, rekindle our connection with Allah Rabbul Izzah, our creator, sustainer of the whole universe, and make repentance, remorse, istighfar, tawbah. More importantly, our fara'id, 5 daily prayers, tilawat of Quran, reading Quran, the message of the Quran, the message of the final Prophet Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and his practice, his way of life, his sunnah, we should adapt in our lives. Exactly. Secondly, as Iqbal Bhai has mentioned, please do call in. The number is on the bottom of your screen.
Can I just repeat that for the numbers? Anybody who wants to ring in, please do so. Your views, your thoughts are very important. What you've gone through, maybe you can share with others, and maybe others can learn from it and protect themselves. The phone number is 01274 214 299. Sorry, Mufti, carry on.
Secondly, Iqbal Bhai hit the nail on the head as such and said, what do we do as a community and a society? I mean, there's many vulnerable people, many people that live hand to mouth on a daily basis, people who are self-employed, people who don't have stocks and freezers full of food and things to get by with, whether it's vulnerable breadline, people reliant on food banks, or people that are actually working or had the means and resources but now don't have them.
The jobs have gone.
Jobs have gone.
Yep.
So what do we do? Subhanallah, this is the teachings of our beloved sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and this is humanity and mankind. How can we sleep with our bellies full when our neighbor is hungry?
Exactly.
Yeah. So look after your neighbors, look after your friends, look after the community, regardless creed, color, background, culture, it doesn't matter. At the time of need, we need to get together and help everybody, inshallah.
I think that's an excellent point, Mufti Sahib, Jazakallah. And that brings me to one of my guests who's Skyping, inshallah, into this program. And he's no stranger to us. His name is Shadi Hussain. He's more well known for his work with the Muslim Foster Network, but he has been actively involved right from the beginning of this crisis with a crisis team in Bradford to make sure that people understand the importance of what is hitting us, that they take on board the advice that has been given, that organizations and institutions are prepared to deal with the issues that are going to be facing the community. And his name is Shadi Hussain. Shadi, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are you able to hear me? Oh, I can see you as well. Assalamu alaikum. Shadim, how are we? Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Welcome to IQRA TV, Shadim. Can you hear me, Shadim? I think we have a technical issue at the moment. I can see him, but I'm not able to hear him. I think we'll probably get back to him if we can. But there is a lot of work going on, in particularly, I know, in Bradford. People like Shadim and others, Bradford for Better, the Council of Mosque, etc., are doing enormous amount of work. And Muslim businesses have actually really stepped up. I mean, some businesses have been a disgrace to the Muslim community for what they've been doing to the Muslim, not to the customers, for profiteering in these very difficult times. As Mufti Sahib said, the Prophet ﷺ made it very clear that you can't go to sleep. You can't go to sleep with a full stomach when your neighbors are going to sleep with an empty stomach. And therefore, it doesn't say whether the neighbors have to be Muslim. It's any neighbors. And therefore, we have this responsibility. And as Mufti Sahib said, this virus that has come across this world is an opportunity for us to turn towards Allah. It's an opportunity for us to realize the impact of it and how it could affect us as individuals, and maybe it renews and re-energize our faith towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well, Mufti Sahib, we're going to give some examples of the work that is going on.
Indeed, I mean, subhanallah, there's fantastic work going on. Al Khair Foundation usually does work in disaster zones and emergency hit areas. But subhanallah, just like you've mentioned a few organizations, Al Khair Foundation across the country, Glasgow, Birmingham, Leicester, Bolton, and even in Bradford, working with Bradford for Better or Shadim Hussein, the Face Centre, people everywhere else. And like you've rightly pointed out, some businesses, fantastic, amazing help. I mean, we went to a couple of businesses, couple of major wholesalers. If I may say thanks to Mr. Bamji from Caterer's Choice, Saeed, gave us a fantastic load of supplies, and same with Lubna Foods and many others. SubhanAllah, Allah bless you all and give you barakah. We've started this with many different partners and going around and giving these food parcels around the...
You've also delivered water to Bradford Royal Infirmary, the hospital NHS staff, haven't you?
Indeed, yes, SubhanAllah.
Because they were running short of water.
Yes, I mean, wearing the face masks and dehydration kicks in. So Inaya, Allah bless her, texted me and said yes. I said yes straight away. And we dropped off, and many other businesses have dropped off water, juices for BRI, Bradford Royal Infirmary.
The healthcare staff.
For the healthcare staff. And many individuals that are struggling, like you said, you know, so we need that kind of support from yourselves. If you're watching us right now, please do donate generously towards these local projects, whether it's in Birmingham, Leicester, Glasgow, Bolton, wherever the AKF teams are, or whether it's your own local partners, like you'll have the Faith Centre like we have in Bradford, or we have the Bradford for Better campaign, mashallah.
I mean, obviously these initiatives are happening all across the country. I know where I live in Batley and Dewsbury, and you know, small towns and big cities, Muslim communities are stepping up, and the more we do, the more we'll, you know, the Muslim Ummah will be seen in a better light. I think we've got Shadim Hussein back again. Let's see whether we can talk to him. Shadim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, my friend? How are you? You okay? I know you've been working extremely hard over the last 3-4 weeks with your colleagues in Bradford, trying to make sure that everything is put together, that all the infrastructure is being in place, you know, and people are not suffering as a consequence of, you know, having no food in front of them. Can you just tell us a little bit briefly the type of work that you're doing? I mean, I know you've been working very closely with, when it comes to anybody who's passed away, people who've lost their loved ones as well, because this is a very challenging and difficult times for people who've lost their loved ones. You know, they can't go to the mosque, they can't go to the cemetery, they can't go to the janazah except in groups of 10, and etc., etc. So I know you've been at the forefront of this. So can you just explain to us what you've been doing?
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Alhamdulillah, in the last couple of weeks, my organization, which is the Bradford Foundation Trust, some of you will know of it as the Faith Centre. We've been engaging with the Council of Mosques, so Zofi Bai, who mashallah is not too well at the moment, so please make dua for him. That
may Allah give him full shifa, because he was a guest the last time I was here on the program.
Zofi Bai, who is the president of the Bradford Council for Mosques. So we essentially attended a meeting a couple of weeks back. Mashallah, there was various ulama there at the meeting, including Maulana Fazaldad and Mufti Sahib as well. And we essentially have discussed the challenges that were ahead. Obviously, there was knowledge of knowing what was going on in other countries. So the first thing that was looked at was restricting the prayers and congregational prayers. And we know that
yes,
it's a very difficult thing for us all, you know, mashallah, especially for our elders who pray 5 times a day. You know, attending the masjid is something that is a spiritual connection for us, as well as something that we do to you know, fulfill our 5-time daily obligations. So this we know is a big issue, especially the Jummah Khutbah. So this was the first challenge that we had. The second issue was that you know, there was a discussion around the burials. and the planning was taking place about the number of expected deaths and the number of arrangements that would need to be made. But the main concerns were around the restrictions that would be in place. So we know that as Muslims we have certain rituals that we follow as part of our faith, and to do the ghusl of the body, to prepare and shower the body and then do the burial. This is something that, alhamdulillah, we do these actions in the hundreds, if not the thousands. We pray the janazah together. So these were some of the restrictions that have come in place from the government. I think at the moment the limitations are around 20, but Yasin Bhai and Ishtiyaq Bhai and other people who are involved with the Council of Mosques, mashallah, they're doing a fantastic job of managing this process. But obviously there's contingency plans in place for how, if sadly as the numbers increase.
I mean, if I remember correctly, 2 weeks ago, I came across this figure that in Bradford they were expecting at least 1,000 people to pass away, and the council was trying to prepare for that. I mean, I don't know whether that is true or not, but it showed the scale of what the emergency services were actually preparing for. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those numbers can't be verified.
Oh no, there was just a guesstimate, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's an unknown quantity at this stage, and we know that, mashallah, we're a sizable population. We're 125,000-30,000 Muslims in the city. So we are already a considerable part of the population, and just by natural default, if you look at some of the statistics, then we have X number of deaths every day in the city already. So we already have a number of janazas that take place.
Yes.
And obviously this has been increased by the current circumstances around the COVID virus.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of we'll come back to that for the time being. But the work that is being done by the Muslim community in the area of Bradford and the surrounding districts, which I say other places are replicating as well, and as Mufti Saab says, Al-Khair are also engaged in that work. But can you just give a flavour so that our viewers across the world who watch IQRA TV and Real Talk can get an idea of the type of work that you and your friends and your colleagues and the Muslim community in Bradford are doing?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I mean, I've never seen this type of community engagement before. We're talking in the hundreds of people who have registered to volunteer to help. Mashallah, masajids and other groups across the city. We've got Nurul Islam, we've got Sheikh Ahmed Ali's mosque, we've got Talat Sajawal, who's our local councillor here in West Bowling, Councillor Jabbar and their brother, who's running a soup kitchen. I mean, the list is just endless, and I know that, mashallah, Al-Khair, IQRA TV, Mufti Yusuf had already mentioned some of the wholesalers and manufacturers such as Lubna, Adams Cash and Carry. The list goes on. You could name probably 30 or 40 organizations and individuals who have already taken a proactive action. And I think this is just something that is inherent in us, within our faith and our culture, that we must help. It's an obligation upon us. But mashallah, we've been very proud of the activities. You obviously know of Sister Naya and the Bradford For Better group, which I'm a member of.
Yes,
mashallah, many of those people have.
I was hoping she was going to join me today. I was hoping she was going to be able to join me today. Unfortunately, she sent a message she can't. So it's a pity, because I know she's been instrumental in this. But I mean, carry on, sorry.
No. I was just saying, obviously, mashallah, you've got people who regularly come on your show, so the viewers will know about them. But there's also, mashallah, many people who just like to keep their actions and intentions to themselves, and there's many unsung heroes in the city who are supporting their neighbours, supporting other people of other faiths. And we've got Save the Mothers Trust, mashallah, they're doing home deliveries. They're doing a phenomenal job. Milo Hall supported the Faith Centre this weekend, so we had I think about 230 food packs and 650 hot meals. Food was cooked by Aziz Catering. So alhamdulillah, wherever there is an ask. I mean, one thing that I did want to highlight to the viewers and to everyone listening as well is that one thing we've got to be careful of is that we need to find a balance, because although food is very important and we must do this and we must ensure people are not going hungry, what we shouldn't do is have an uncoordinated effort where, you know, on Monday there's 10 places cooking biryani, you know. We need to find a way to coordinate this, and that's what the Bradford Foundation Trust has been trying to do, is to bring together people of different backgrounds, different, you know, food companies, and try to arrange some kind of a schedule to say that if, mashallah, you guys are doing it on a Monday, somebody else take it on Tuesday, etc.
Right. I mean, everybody wants to try and contribute in any way they can, and
Absolutely.
therefore I can understand why everybody wants to be there every day of the week. And I agree with you, because I was talking to one of the senior directors of one of the NHS trusts in Yorkshire, and I asked him whether they need food for the staff, and he said to me, Iqbal, we don't really need food, because all the big multinational companies, you know, like Subway, etc., are providing food for the NHS staff. And he says, we've got so much food coming in, we don't know what to do with it. But it's the other stuff, the other logistics that they're actually short of, transport, etc. So, you know, transport, providing sort of the logistics for storing goods and services, etc. So I've had some Muslim businesses say to me, we have trucks which are at the moment lying idle, so if they need trucks to move stuff around, then we're happy to give it to them. So coming back to what you said, obviously it's important, and this coordination, is that now happening? Is it working?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, you know, it's you know, local authority, there's bureaucracy, the red tape, there's a lot of people involved, so decision making is not as quick as we would have liked it to have been. But obviously we can imagine it's a citywide plan, it's a substantial it's a bit of infrastructure that needs to put into place. I mean, I'll give you one wonderful example is some of you may know Brother Asim Salim from Kashmir Khan Bakery, you know.
Right.
So we had approached them last week because we needed to use a warehouse for a temporary basis whilst the main warehouse was set up at the Broadway shopping centre. And mashallah, he gave his warehouse fi sabilillah at no charge, and he allowed the council to bring food in and control their distribution from there for a number of days. And he quoted a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and he said that you know, in a time of crisis, a person who profiteers is cursed by Allah.
SubhanAllah, yes.
Definitely.
And this was a wonderful hadith that just reminded me of, you know, the intention and the actions that we must take in this. And we must be extremely careful about how we do this. And yes, mashallah, businesses are involved and people in a voluntary capacity are involved, and fi sabilillah. So it's jais to do things, but we must be careful that people are not unnecessarily profiteering. And this is where we can be very proud of our Muslim community in Bradford, that mashallah, the people have come forward in a strong way, and they're helping the council build this infrastructure. So, you know, we've supported them to recruit over 1,000 volunteers.
Subhanallah.
People are mobilizing in different areas. So just to give you some context,
I'm going to have to come back to you.
Shadi,
I'm going to have to come back to you, because we'll come back to you after break. We're going to be going for a break very soon. So I mean, the example he was giving obviously is, you know, very, very important. And you know, there are Muslim businesses who have really stepped up the mark and showed that, you know, they are true Muslims who believe in the word of Allah and the word of the Prophet ﷺ in terms of how we should respond. But there are also those who have, as Shadim says, and I'll read you a note that I've got from one of the most senior police officers in this country, who sent me an email today. The extreme right wing are now promoting this notion that all Muslim businesses are profiteering at the expense of the ordinary communities in this country. And this is something that they want to challenge and they want to bust. So therefore, all Muslim businesses, or any Muslim businesses who are profiteering, Allah ke waste, and I said this at my last program as well, please, please, please don't give Islam a bad name. Please make sure, you know, you behave responsibly. We're going to a break. Inshallah, we'll be coming back soon. We'll talk to Shadim and we'll talk to Mufti Yusuf again as well. In the meantime, take care. Inshallah, we'll join you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.